Good afternoon, everyone. It's Michelle Jean from Michelle Jean Books coming at you with another video. So, if you need, want, or require knowledge, you are in the right place because this is where knowledge begins. In this frame, it says Revelations Continued, as I've done a video prior to this one where I talked about the mark of the beast, the man on the horse, 666, which is the mark of the beast, and more. So once again, starting off or continuing on with this video, be careful of what you read, believe in, speak, teach, preach, because lies on God come at a penalty. And if you don't know the truth, it's best not to preach or speak or tell people to believe in something that you do not fully and truly know. Lies against God are a sin, and there's many things that constitute sins for which you do not know. And I'm going to do another video after this about Revelations 20 and clarify um, some things as to the book of life and more. So let's move on. This frame it says, the Bible of man is salvation for some, but for others, the Bible of man is not salvation. It is a death trap, their death, their physical and spiritual death, and more. You have to know that the Bible is written in codes for, I'm going to say, the children and people of death, those who preach religion, teach religion, and tell lies on God. And hopefully you don't stop this video and say, oh my God, how dare you say that religion is of God. Absolutely no human being on the face of this planet can tell you that their religion is of God, because God do not deal in religion. Churches, way back when, was whorehouses. So in some of my books, I've called the churches the whorehouses because that was what they were made for. They were made for men doing their nastiness in. And yet some say they are holy. There no church on the face of this planet is holy. And yes, you can be in uproar and say I'm blaspheming and stuff like that. I am not blaspheming. Therefore, when it comes to God, you need to know the truth. You need to have knowledge of God. You need to know, in order to know God, you need to know what life is. You need to know the difference between life and death. You also need to know what death is. You also need to know who death is. You also need to know, beforehand, you have to know who God is as well. God is truth. Therefore, we were told the wages of sin and wages is pay. The wages of sin is death, but truth is life everlasting. Once you have truth, you have one of the fun, or you have, no, I shouldn't say that. Once you have truth, knowledge, you have the foundation to life and of life. You have the foundation of God, because knowledge cannot change. Belief changes, but knowledge cannot change. Knowledge is solid. When you have knowledge, you know, and you cannot be rocked or fooled when it comes to God and what God has shown you and given you. Yes, you say God give us prophets, but God do not give anybody prophets. God has absolutely no prophets. God has messengers and saviors, but never prophets, because God cannot profit off life. The only one to have profit or profit off life is death. Yes, death profit off life, because it is the children and people of death that give you death, tell you to go against God. And when you go against God, it is a sin. So if God say, Fred, do not go to your next door neighbor's house, because the day you go there, you will die. If you do not follow what God tells you until forever, ever, and you do go to your neighbor's house, you die you're dead. You cannot be saved because you went against God. So when you go against God, what God tells you to do, it's automatic death. You may not die right away in the flesh, but once your spirit shed the flesh, that's it. You can't go anywhere else but hell. And a lot of people do not know this. So we say God gave us commandments like God gave Moses commandments to give to his people. Commandments like thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not have other gods against with me, you know. Yet humans kill, humans steal, humans have other gods, and humans commit adultery. These acts are automatic death, except for adultery. Because I know this, because a lot of people do not know what constitutes adultery, and in some of my books I've explained what constitute adultery and what adultery is. So because of lack of knowledge, God will see with us for that. But once you know what adultery is, you cannot participate in adultery, or else it's automatic death for you, because you know exactly what adultery is. Excuse me, onwards I go. Revelation 17, it speaks of the harlot. And I am not going to get too much into the harlot, because you do not know, or many people do not know, that Satan did transfer power. And I'm not sure if it's my 2015 book or 2017 book that I've told you that Satan did transfer power. So that aspect of Revelations did come to fruition. It did come to pass. The mark of the beast did come to pass. That's been fulfilled already. We know that. Um, so, like I said, I'm not going to speak of the harlot, because you need to know. Um, you do not know that Satan transferred his power. Okay, in Revelations, I'm pretty sure it said Satan transferred the power to the eagle. And we all know, many people do not know Bible symbolism, but the eagle in Bible symbolism refers to the United States of America, the bear, Russia, dragon, China. And like I said, I don't know the leper, what country the leper represents, but Ethiopia do not represent the lion, because the lion is altogether different, and people do not know the history of the lion or lions. So therefore they cannot speak of the lion or lions, because they do not know what took place with them long before the white race came into existence. So that I've put in about the lions in another book, but I will hopefully one day I'll get to do a video and fully explain to you what happened to the lions, because the lion represents Judah, the people of Judah, the people of life, God's children and people, way back when. And in order to fully comprehend it too, I have to get into Moses and what Moses did, because every messenger that God chooses come with a message, and you have to know what that message is. And hopefully I get to, you know what, I'm going to do a video on the different messengers of this day and time, so that you know what I'm talking about when it comes to messengers. As for Savior, there is one that God has chosen, and it's like a lot of people do not know that there's a chosen. Forget Jesus. Take Jesus out of your mind. Saviors, when it comes to God, saviors are the ones to save God's children and people. You may say those are the children of light, but those are the children and people of life. A savior can only save God's children and people. A savior cannot save the devil's children and people, because the devil has the devil or Satan or whatever have his or her own race of people, or have their own race of people or races of people. So You also need to know who the children and people of Satan is, or children and people of the devil. But like I said, the children and people of life, God, cannot and will never ever save the children and people of death. It is forbidden in life and in death. So one of the law of life is that the children or the savior of God cannot and will not save the children and people of death. It is forbidden, it is categorically forbidden to go against life, and it is categorically forbidden to go against death. Therefore, a savior, the saved, cannot save wicked and evil people. Onwards I go. Revelations 18 talks about the rich of earth falling. And this I know because a couple of weeks ago, I was walking out. Was that a couple of weeks? Or was it last week? Well, I'd say it's a couple of weeks ago. I was walking outside and I felt this poorness of earth. It was like a global thing. I just felt it. And then I knew, feeling that, I knew that the rich were going to lose it all. It was just Mother Earth telling me that the rich were going to lose it all. And yes, Revelations 18 speaks about the rich of earth falling, meaning they're going to lose it all. The climate of earth has to change, and it must change because 2032 is a pivotal year for the children and people of life. Everything must be fulfilled, and a lot of things are being fulfilled. So, yes, the mark of the beast, that aspect of Revelations did come true. The man on the horse, that aspect of Revelations did come true. Satan transferring power, that did come true. The different plagues, that did come true. And plagues are the different, you can, how would you say? The plagues are like, we've known about the Spanish flu or the Black Plague and all these different types of things. We also know about corporations dumping chemicals into our waterways, therefore killing the fishes and stuff like that. So you would bracket that under plagues. The one thing that humans do not know is that the waterways of life is vital to our existence on this planet. So once we mess it up, and we have messed it up, that's it. Who's going to clean it for us? So therefore, it is pivot. It is important to keep the waterways, our drinking supply, our drinking sources, our bathing supplies. It's important that we keep the waterways of life clean. Water is vital, not just on earth, but it's also vital in the spiritual realm. When God is blessing you in the spiritual realm, say you pray and you say, God, bless me. You know, one of the blessings of God is water. You might go to your bed and you see water coming down on you like a little shower coming down, or you want a little drizzle. That is God's way of saying He's blessing you. So, water is vital to not just our physical self, but our spiritual self. And water is a blessing from God. Therefore, it is important for us to keep our waterways clean and not pollute it. But unfortunately, some do not think that way. They have to dirty the waterways of life. So when you dirty the waterways of life, you're taking away your blessing, and you're also dirtying yourself. So it is vital that you know what is going on. Now, insofar as my book, I'm going to talk about it. The Mark of the Beast Clarified, for which I wrote, and I spoke to you about it in book one, in the previous video to this one. Revelations also said that those who have accepted the mark of the beast cannot be saved. And it is right in a sense, but it is not right in a sense. And the reason why I say it's not right in a sense was because of what happened Um, Trust me, when I tell you I cried to God, I cried. And did I cuss God out? Yep, I quarreled with God. And oh man, did I ever quarrel with God, reckless and rude. And God gave me my answer. So, yes, for those that have forced people to take the mark of the beast, there is no life for them. My prayer did go up, my tears, I shouldn't say prayer, my tears did go to God, and God answered me. So, for those who force people to take the mark of the beast, there is no life for them. They, oh, they don't even want to know what's going to happen to them once their spirit shed the flesh. Trust me, there's no hope in life and death for them. Absolutely none, because you do not force people to go against their will. You do not force people to do things that they truly do not want to do. You do not force people to go against God. And a lot of things people have and has done, they force people to go against God. And if I was to look at religion too and tell you religion do force you to go against God, the cleanliness of God, as well as God Himself. And we cannot live like this. Therefore, it is imperative to get knowledge, know God, know what God can do and what God cannot do. Also, oh, I didn't even tell you, because I did another video and I was telling you that about modern day Sodom and Gomorrah from my travels, because with God, once God has chosen you as a chosen and as a saved, there's so many things, so much knowledge that's open to you, so much power that's open to you. One of the things that is open is time travel. And it's, for me, it's through my dream world. Because at times I travel back in the past via my dream world. I am sometimes I'm a participant, but more of an onlooker. I see what is going on, so know that you can go back into the past. You can't change the past, but you see what is going on and what has happened. So one of my abilities or one of my gifts from God is actually traveling in the past, to see what took place in the past. Yes, I know about creation. I know how creation came into being. Yes, I know about death. I know about the different deaths. Um, Humans talk about dimensions. Oh, there are different dimensions. That's a categorical lie. There are no dimensions out there. There are realms, not dimensions, different realms. And is there realms beyond God? Yes, because God show you that there are realms beyond God, but those realms are extremely dangerous. So as a saved, you have to know the dangers of death. You have to know the dangers of the different realms that are out there. Okay, so I've in my travels in the past, I've never seen God saying that this country, it is unclean. I've never seen Sodom and Gomorrah. Never seen it. I have not seen it. The only place or the only land that I know God has and have deemed unclean is Jamaica. And I talk about it so much in some of so many of my different books. That is, it is us as a race of people, as Black people, that kill ourselves, that condemn ourselves. Now, for God deeming Jamaica unclean in this day and time, you must know how filthy and disgusting that land is. Yes, it's pretty and stuff like that, but the sins, especially Port Royal, how Port Royal was known as the wickedest place on earth until Port Royal sank, and they've rebuilt it. Some of it is still there until this day. But as far as I know, and this is my truth of what God has told me, that Jamaica is filthy, it's unclean, it is dirty. And one of the things that you need to know as children and people of God, God will not send you any of his people into unclean lands. Yes, I would like to go back to Jamaica because this is where I was born, but God has forbidden me to go because God has deemed Jamaica unclean. Every time I say I want to go, God shows me that if you disobey me and go into that land, you are dead. It's like death, automatic death for you. You that's it. You're gone to hell. So this is why I tell you, once God, in most of my books, God forbid his children and people to go into unclean lands. So when they say God sent his angels into Sodom and Gomorrah to take Lot and his family out, that's a categorical lie. That is a lie being told on God. God cannot go into unclean places, and God will never go into unclean places. This is why, too, God is not here on earth, because humans have made earth a cesspool, the cesspool of death. So God cannot come in. So evil did keep God out of earth. Also, too, is that if God has how would you say, severed ties with you, God take all knowledge of him out of your brain, out of your DNA, out of everything for you. So this is why you have people going into the different churches of death, or as I call them, the whorehouses of death, and saying, oh, they're finding God. You're not finding God. You're finding death. That's all you have is death, because God is gone from you, and you will never ever find God. Going into church, no one can find God in church because there's no life in the churches. And on that note, because I've gone so far into this and I'm so far into this video, I am going to leave this alone. But look into the things that I've said, and if you can find the book, I don't even want to go back into it too and go look for that book. You guys find it out. Try to find it for me on Lulu. It should be in on the cover page of one of the books that I've written in 2015 or 2017 to tell you, which tells you the transfer of power of Satan. So Revelation so far is being fulfilled, and it is fulfilled. And I'm going to discuss Revelations 20 in another book. Okay? Revelations 19 talks about the marriage of the lamb and supper, as well as the man who sat on a horse. And I already told you about the man who sat on a horse in the previous video already. So all of this is self-explanatory. Now, in order, like, the marriage of the lamb and supper is not relevant to God because, how would he say it? When I say it's not relevant to God, well, you know what? I'm going to leave it alone, because some people believe that Jesus is God, and some people believe that Jesus died to save them from all their sins. And if this is your belief, this is your belief. I'm not here to change you from your beliefs. I'm not here to change you from your worship, or I'm not here to change you from the churches that you go to, because the book of man, which is the Bible, is not relevant. It's not important in that sense to the children and people of life, because we know what life is, we know what death is. We can only speak to the children and people of life and tell them it's time to come home. God, there is someone there to save you. Like I said, God has asked me to write. I didn't say it before in this one, but in other videos and in my books, I've told you, God has asked me to write a book. The specific book that God wanted and needed me to write is called the New Book of Knowledge. Now, there are two books, and I'm going to talk about it in my next video. So keep in mind the New Book of Knowledge. That is God's book. Now, God also asked me to plant seeds, and I did plant the seeds. However, They did catch, but they died because I overwatered them, and I brought my son into the mix. And that was not supposed to be, because once God asks you to do something, you have to go it alone. Whether you like it or not, you have to go it alone. You cannot bring anyone in the mix. You are changing the what God asks you to do when you bring someone in the mix. It is not you doing it, it's you and someone else, and God do not look upon that. So yes, though the seeds came, the that I planted, they grew, but however they died. And if I should tell you, one of the most beautifulest thing is when God has asked you to plant and then you start planting. Oh my God, people, the peace, the joy, the beauty you receive and feel, nothing compares to it. It's like, how would you say, it's like when you see creation, how creation came into being. It's like the that peace, that true peace and happiness that you feel. It's like you don't want that feeling to go. You don't want to lose that feeling. It is so beautiful, and you wonder yourself, why do people not want this? It is so beautiful. Knowing God is so beautiful that it's like when you receive God, it's like you don't want God to leave you. You're saying, God, don't go away. And when you don't have that feeling, it is so disappointing sometimes. But oh gosh, it is so hard to explain for you to imagine. Sometimes I wish I could, when I'm in this mood, and it's like I have this different spirit. If I feel as if, I want to touch someone so that they can feel what I feel as to what I'm talking about, to the true peace, the true happiness. Nothing compares to it. Absolutely nothing compares to it. So I'm telling you, no, God. Put your trust in God, because there are things that as children and people of God we cannot do. We are forbidden to do certain things. And if you were to pick up any one of my books, yes, I'm going to plug them, they will tell you what you can and cannot do. They also educate you on what you can and cannot do. They educate you on God as well. So, oh wow, I'm going to leave off here when it comes to education. If there's something that I miss, or if there's something that you want to talk to me about, leave it in the comment section below. Let me know what you need me to talk about. If you disagree with me, you can disagree with me, because it's because it's not everyone that is of God. People say, oh, they love God, but know God. And do not love God, but truly, truly love God. Once you truly love God, you will begin to see, you will begin to know God is it. Death isn't. Okay? All right, later, guys. Now, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it, and you are not obligated to subscribe to my channel. But if you want to subscribe, please do so. However, I would truly love for you to share the video. If you know somebody that could use this video to brighten up their day, to gain knowledge, please, please, please share it. It would be a blessing for me and you to share this video. So let's increase in knowledge. Let's build our knowledge. Let's be blessed in God and in ourselves. So take care, people. Bye for now until my next video.